You are a successful senior player, ranked very high on the Senior Pro Tour. How old are you now?
In pickleball years, I'm 53.
The Seattle guys back in the day kept it secret. Their training, their shots. They didn't tell anybody.
Phoenix area, SoCal, same. They keep it secret. They don't want to train with somebody because they don't want to give anything up. So it's a very much a zero-sum game. It's everybody loses.
Pickleball Fountain of Youth with Hall of Famer Steve Paranto.
I think it comes down to, maybe a baseline philosophy about should rules continue to be, modified and put in place to equalize abilities? Yes or no, right? Because if you like tennis, the taller you are, the bigger of a weapon your serve is, right? And that's just part of the game.
Yeah, pickleball was created
to equalize, yes.
So that
totally.
different body sizes
totally, and different abilities, and that I think is a huge reason for the success of the sport, and why it's growing so rapidly. The learning curve is so fast, right? I mean, tennis or golf, it takes tens of thousands of dollars in lessons before you can even string together a round of golf or a tennis game, right? And in pickleball, you step out there and in 30 minutes, scoring is a little weird, but you can, if you have any hand-eye coordination, you can enjoy and actually play some points, and that's pretty cool.
So on those same lines, if you were the man making all the new rules or changes, is there anything that you see that you would like changed as far as rules, or even equipment? We talk about where the equipment's going, with being the aggressive and the power.
Would I change anything? The line fault when you go for an overhead.
Push off.
Push off for an overhead. That's maybe.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is actually has to do with not that in and of itself, but how incredibly difficult it is for referees to actually assess if you have actually shuffled your feet afterwards. Because they're so focused on basically, is a foot stepping over the line, right? And if a foot is, they call it. And they haven't even paid attention to kind of what happens after. And I'm not faulting them. It's a very difficult thing to get right. How do you really tell if a player is lifting the foot or dragging the foot? It's very difficult.
So
very
I think I'm with you there, because again, I want to get rid of as many subjective that's really a judgment call. It seems funny that you can be hitting an overhead from the transitional area and be called for a foot fault.
It's happened to me many times.
But it happened. I just got called for it in Arizona. And when it happens, at first you go, oh yeah, okay, I believe you. I'd like to see the replay, but there is no replay because I'm just playing. I'm not playing pro on the Pro Tour, so there is no replay. But I remember when that rule became a rule.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
So
it wasn't there from the beginning.
No, there's a lot of rules I can tell you about that weren't there
Yeah.
in the very beginning.
Some of the little rule changes that have happened in the last couple of years, I think have been a major improvement. I mean, the whole thing about standing in the wrong spot and losing the point, that was, I'm glad that's gone.
Me too.
I'm glad that's gone. I think also delay of game, I don't understand how easy it is to be called for a delay of game. I think that there should be more kind of leniency there. Because I played matches where basically my opponents have kind of speed served, so to speak, right? And got a cheap point because we as the receiving team are not quite ready. In most sports, a referee is going to go, server's ready, returner's ready, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, right? But here, they just look at the server and they go, say the score, and you got to be ready, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's the point? I don't see the point in that. It lowers the quality of the game. It allows for, cheap points, so that I like to see changed. I think that would be an improvement. But in terms of equipment, it's been amazing to see maybe not a revolution, but a very fast-paced evolution of paddles over the last several years. The introduction of basically the textured, carbon surface, right? And more recently now with all these cores that, provide more energy in the spring back, basically. That's been really interesting. And of course, that is part of what's changed in the sport, right? Or evolving the sport. But it is also the athletic ability and technique and just the evolution of it. The fact that the sport is getting faster and more athletic and requires more agility would happen even if the paddle technology stayed the same. But yes, you can now hit shots that you could not hit with paddles that are several years old, that's for sure. So, and we all know how that is abused, how much cheating there is going on with everything from, cooking your paddles, right? Getting them tested, putting them in the freezer, breaking the core with a softball, right? And then go out and play to get that extra power and all these other things, right? So I don't have an answer, and I think it will be complicated to figure out what should be done, but I do think it's needed because I do think that the rules right now are basically allowing there to be an uneven playing field, let's say, and right now all the focus has been on the paddles, and I'd be interested to see what could be done if you actually change the ball, because, okay, the PP has changed from the Dura to the Vulcan, but they're very similar, right? So what would change if the ball was different? So maybe it was a little bit slower. Maybe the viscosity of the plastic used allowed less grab. And you can do a lot with polymers. With plastic.
We were just talking in another podcast when I had Judy, a table tennis player, is table tennis went to a bigger ball.
Yep.
To slow it down.
I just learned that from Steve.
Yeah. And from like 38 millimeter to 40 millimeter.
Yep.
For two reasons. You could see it better on television, and then it slowed it down a little bit.
Right.
That's it. A little bit bigger ball. Of course, then if it's bigger, it's going to be heavier. Oh.
Maybe.
Well, that might be better for wind. Now we might have. Well,
right. So maybe less prone to be affected by wind, but I think what makes it so affected by wind are the holes, right? But if you come up with a more advanced material, you can probably thin out the wall sections and make a bigger ball, not any more heavy,
But then it would be more susceptible to the wind if it was bigger and the same weight.
Yes,
that wouldn't be good.
That wouldn't be good. But again, it's the holes, right? The fewer the holes, the less susceptible it's going to be, I think, from the wind. The weight plays a big, and the overall surface area, but yeah, it's interesting and pretty complex. And I think, take table tennis. They went through a period, this is a couple of decades ago, where a certain type of glue was allowed to be used, right?
Speed glue. We just found out it was called speed glue.
Right, and it had a lifespan of like 4 hours, right? And it took over the sport, So then they banned that, right? So, every sport is going through changes in allowable equipment, not just playing rules. And I think it's going to be interesting. I think something will happen.
We're on the right lines. We have testing now that's more equivalent to what they do with baseball bats, where they are measuring finally exit speed.
Right.
That's got to. We didn't have that before.
Sure. No, you're right. The testing or the formula, let's say, is becoming more sophisticated, but the issue is still today that there is a huge disparity between the manufacturers and the governing body in terms of, let's be frank, both skill and resources, both knowledge and resources, right? Because the sport is growing so fast that the manufacturers at the moment have, you know, an ability to do more and not cheat, but get around, so to speak, the regulations and create a superior product. And the governing body feels like they're constantly playing catch up.
Yeah, well, also, I mean, the big issue, even if every paddle was tested perfect, but then since it degradates and changes.
Sure.
I'm at the point here, my dad invented the first composite pickleball paddle, which is
That's right,
which
yeah.
was honeycomb. I'm thinking maybe no more honeycomb paddles.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that core crush. This pure foam stuff cannot. It's still early to say, but I don't think it's going to core crush and create power that way. Maybe it can delaminate from the.
Yeah,
from that might happen. We don't know.
I believe that some manufacturers are. I mean, it's very difficult to glue something onto a foam surface. It's much more difficult than a honeycomb plastic surface. There's lots of ways to take it, right? I mean, yeah, you could completely standardize the equipment, but no manufacturer is going to want that, right? Because then the brands go out the window, right?
Yeah, but
I don't think that's a solution either. I mean, if you look at Formula One, you know, car racing. You know, where the governing body puts out a new formula every few years, and they send them to the manufacturers, and they have to build a car following that formula to a T, right? And they still kind of get around and so on, but there's more of a parity there. The governing body is powerful, has money, and can police that. And the whole purpose of that formula is to create a level playing field where the car, the ability of the car matters less, and it's about the ability of the driver. That's what everybody wants, right?
The team and the driver.
Yeah, you want exactly the team and the driver. You know, so I mean, I don't know how we're going to do it, but to create a level playing field for pickleball, I think, is key.
Yeah. Well, just got back from playing a tournament in Arizona with Craig Palermo, men's doubles, and again, 70-year-old virgin, so he was his first time for him to also play 70 and over.
Yeah.
And we came up against one team where as soon as one guy hit this third ball drive, it was obviously a trampolini, more than any trampolini paddle that's on the D list,
Right.
but it's approved. So something is different with this paddle.
Yeah.
So we had to go to the strategy of don't hit it to that paddle.
Sure.
And it wasn't because he was necessarily a stronger player than his partner, but we had a hard time getting out of the way of that ball.
Yeah.
Which that's what I want to have avoided, to be avoided in the sport.
And I do think that there is lots of room for improvement there. I mean, I know at least this was towards the end of last year, where if you play against somebody, it happens to a friend of mine, no need to use any names, but he's playing singles against another guy, and he was convinced that the paddle was delaminated because this guy had insane amount of power. But the rules are that you can't, or at the time, hopefully it's changed, but the rules were you could not challenge a paddle during the match. You had to challenge it before the match. How can you challenge somebody's paddle before the match when you're discovering it during the match, right?
Right.
So he tried to challenge it, and he was told, no, you can't challenge the paddle during the match. He lost. He then told his friend that was going to play this guy in the next round and said, hey, challenge it now. They challenged it. He had submitted 3 paddles for testing that morning. 2 were delaminated and were taken away from him, and he played the next match with the 3rd paddle and didn't stand a chance. And I saw both matches, and his power was diminished by a significant amount.
Right.
You know, it's things like that doesn't take a lot to improve, and I think will do a lot, again, to level the playing field, right? I'm not saying that he did it on purpose.
Yeah, I don't think this guy did it on purpose either that we played against.
You know, there has to be rules in place that you can actually fix that on the spot.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of issues that we need to get straightened out in the future. This is also affects rec play. I mean, you can just be playing rec play at recs, and there could be somebody that just bam.
I think it's in a sense it's a bigger issue for rec because people aren't aware, so paddles get delaminated to an even greater extent, even more power, more uncontrollable power. So now you have somebody that is at a lower skill level able to generate an enormous amount of power, playing against another player with a lower skill level and maybe not the agility, the likelihood of somebody being tagged in the eye, because at least today, very few rec players are using eye protection.
Right.
You know, so yeah, it affects rec play, and from an injury prevention, from injury perspective, it's even greater than in pro.
You're coming off an injury. I don't even know what it is. I know that you are taking time off.
Yeah, I'm taking a time off, and it's more to do with just generally letting my body kind of heal up and get stronger. I mean, in hindsight, last year and the year before, I didn't strike the right balance between on-court and off-court practice. You know, last year was, I mean, I have results that I'm relatively happy with, but you know, I traveled, you know, I think 24 weekends out of the year, you know, pretty much every other week, and practiced a lot, and didn't spend enough time off court. And with my body type, you know, eating, you know, 5,000 plus calories a day, I mean, it's hard for me even to keep weight on. So I just noticed that I was getting, you know, I was losing weight, losing a little bit of muscle, you know, and so kind of what I'm doing now is just focusing on putting on weight, muscle, and becoming, you know, more flexible, more agile, and yeah, just kind of building back up, so to speak, you know. And the reason,
just because you're not burning calories like crazy, and they're able to keep them on.
For sure. I mean, now my appetite has you know, it's a lot less, and you know, when I play pickleball and do that much kind of aerobic, anaerobic type, you know, explosive movements, I mean, I sometimes I eat and I can't get full, and I need copious amounts of carbs to even feel full. Now that's gone away, so now I eat a lot more protein. The ratio is very different, and that's what my body needs, right? Is protein to put on, to build more muscle, right?
Yeah, I noticed that you gained weight when you walked in today.
Yeah, my goal was, I mean, and I am pretty light. I mean, I think end of last year, I was probably at definitely a you know, single digit, you know, percentage of fat, right? Probably 9, something like that.
Well, that part's good.
That's that's great, but it's maybe a little too low. And I think I was weighing 172, and I'm 6'4". You know, it's just not enough. You know, so my goal is to be at 180 or low 180s with, you know, maybe 10 or 11% body fat. You know, by the end of this year. That's
so you feel like you could gain weight as long as it's muscle, and it would improve your game instead of take away from it.
Totally, hugely. Yeah, and you know, and part of the reason for me making the decision to, you know, taking this break is, I mean, as in any sport, if you do well, you have to have the technical skill set, right? The shot ability and the touch and so on in pickleball, but you also have to be athletic. You have to have the agility and so on, right? And when you're worn down and weak, or, you know, tight, semi-injured, you know, that goes away, right? And that's what I started feeling towards especially the second half of the year, that even though I was, you know, perfecting new shots, you know, under Travis and the rest of the boys here, and becoming, so to speak, a even more well-rounded pickleball player in terms of my skill sets, I could feel at the same, which helped me, I can feel at the same time that I was just overtrained. My agility started to decline. I didn't have the same, you know, spring in my step and the same explosiveness and so on, right? And it wasn't as much fun either, because I'm like, I can't believe I couldn't get there. I can't believe I was caught, or I can't believe I got jammed, you know? So that was part of it too. So to take a break and yeah, just become healthier, you know? And was one other aspect of that too is, what I don't want to, we talked about that before we started here, is, you know, a big injury, a catastrophic injury, right? That can happen. And yes, pickleball, I love it. It's important to me and so on. But much more important than pickleball is longevity and in life with Rose, my wife. You know,
who's also a pickleball player.
Yeah, and you know, firefighter. You know, stronger than me. You know, and I didn't want to risk being the person that holds us back in the future because I have some type of, you know, permanent injury that won't allow me to, whatever, go on an 8-hour mountain bike hike or climb, right? Or, you know, ski or snowboard or whatever it is, right? Because this happened when I played pickleball and I am forever not capable of doing this, right? That wouldn't, if nothing else, it wouldn't be fair to her. Yeah. So before I would potentially get there, I'm like, time for me to take a break, get stronger, get more robust, and then come back at it.
So it wasn't like one specific thing. I was thinking, oh, you hurt your knee or your hip or your back. It was just kind of all together.
Yeah, I mean, my left hip has been bothering me since college, right? I have, you know, tight kind of, or tender heel / Achilles, you know. I have, you know, kind of this neck pain radiating a little bit, but it's not like I did something. I didn't pull muscle fibers in my Achilles. I didn't rupture my hip, or I didn't throw out my lower back, or nothing like that. Yeah. But I could just see a gradual just decline in how I felt overall physically, you know.
Our strategies depend so much about the people that are on the court with you.
Oh, totally.
And I don't know we have tennis has lots of variety of strategies, but I kind of think we have more.
I think so too, and it's in doubles. I think there's a little bit less. I mean, in singles. I mean, again, maybe I'm speaking out of turn because I'm not a singles player, right? But it's more of a general strategy, perhaps in single. But in doubles, I think the complexity is what I like. I mean, to me, you know, growing up playing chess, competing at a low level, but also, you know, done a fair amount of martial arts and boxing growing up, or even into my 20s. There is a similarity between pickleball and chess and boxing, in the sense that in chess you think several steps ahead, you know, and that's how you're successful. You can't just randomly, you know, move one pawn and not have a plan, right? And in pickleball, you know, it's like that as well. And in the similarity with boxing, a bar fight is one big hit, right? Boxing is a combination, you know, and even deception, where maybe I keep throwing, you know, my jab for the first 4 rounds, and it's just to kind of get you to be lackadaisical and raise your elbow up when you defend it, right? And then in the 4th round, I get you. That level of kind of nuance and complexity is what I find pickleball to be so addictive. As you think in combinations, I'm going to put it there. It's not a winner, but I know you're going to do that, and then I hit it there, and then my 3rd shot.
See, now that's what I'm seeing at a higher level now, is people are thinking combinations of when I hit there. Percentage-wise, the ball's going to come back here. Are you kind of thinking those things?
Yes, and I am, and you know, it's a work in progress because it happens so quickly, right? But you know, and that I think is a huge difference in tennis. In tennis, that speed doesn't exist, and you know, it's you get a short ball, you hit an approach shot, it's either a winner or maybe a passing shot, or you dive for a volley, right? But in pickleball, it's that back and forth, right? You can't pass people very easily. You know, it's unusual that you only pass people with deception. You know, it's very rare that at a pro level that you're going to hit some kind of drive that is a passing shot like tennis, right? So you have to think in combination. I'm going to hit it there. They're going to get it back. Like you said, percentage-wise, it's going to be over here, and then you know my next shot is this.
Then the next level of that is that other player understands that most of the time, and they come here, so I'm going to do the other thing.
Just like in chess and boxing, right? I mean, you see that, and then you change, and Yeah, I mean, lots of pickleball matches are like that. You start with a certain strategy, it works for a while, then your opposing team is adjusting to that, and then they become successful, and then you got to counter to that, right?
Right.
So that goes on as well, even during a single match, and I think that's really cool.
One thing I've always done,
Yeah.
it's getting harder to do now because everybody's pretty much holding the same grip, but of course, first thing I look at, are they right-handed or left-handed? Number one.
Yeah.
You know, when you're playing, oh darn, another
Yeah.
left-handed team, I hate
Yeah.
those. But then I look at how they're gripping the paddle. Are they, you know, Eastern? Are
Right.
they Continental? Continentals are going to backhands
Yeah.
from here to
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
The Eastern's going to have this.
Yeah.
And then if they're extreme,
Uh-huh.
I figure, okay, they've got to have an extreme weakness to go with their extreme strength.
Uh-huh.
That's always been my philosophy. You
Yeah.
got an extreme
Yeah.
grip,
Sure.
you got extreme strengths. Like, you know, this person,
Sure.
well, they're
Yeah.
really good between their shoulders.
Right.
But they're terrible at reaching,
Right.
so then
Yeah.
you go to those extremes.
Yeah.
So I look at grips a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to that. I think that the future of pickleball, there is not one grip. I really believe, and I'm already beginning to see
well,
it.
from the baseline to the net, people are definitely switching.
Even at the kitchen line.
Really?
Yeah. I think there is technically time for that, and I'm beginning to see it. That
Not in a firefight, though.
not in a firefight,
Yeah, but before the
but
to get
before,
that first
and I
ball.
do think that if somebody's being attacked, I've seen that, you know, that there is an ability to kind of shift the grip, you know, as you're moving, right?
Yeah. Do you remember Curtis Campbell?
Of course, yeah.
He constantly switched his grip
Yeah.
at the net. Do you
Yeah.
remember? He was this kind of, he was
Yeah.
a drummer too. And so he just kind of had these
Yeah,
loose
there you go.
hands.
Yeah.
And
You're right. So if you're clenching your
Yeah,
paddle, which you
yeah.
shouldn't do,
Right.
you're committed, right? But if you are very light and in tune, I really believe the future is that you are very much from the kitchen line, switching grips constantly. You know, and yes, in a firefight,
That's
it's
gonna
probably
be-
enough time.
that's going to be a
But-
difficult skill to teach beginners, obviously.
Sure.
Yeah, that'll be a real elite.
But you do it in tennis.
well, yeah, but you're
do.
farther away
Yeah,
generally.
You
And-
do, but
yeah.
you know, cross-court dinking, there's plenty of time, right? There
yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm going to hit a slice versus if I'm going to hit a two-handed roll, right? It's plenty of time to switch grips.
But then after you
know?
hit your roll, then you got to have a grip ready to counterpunch.
Totally. So
Yeah.
you're finishing that stroke and you're sliding very likely into another grip, right? If you have to hit another cross-court, you know, two-handed roll, again, there's plenty of time to switch back
Switch
to
and
that,
then switch
right?
back. Yeah, because you're going to have to be. That counterpunch grip will probably be the same all the time.
Right,
The
but
roll
what-
grip
but-
will be
but
different.
What that is, I think, is different from player to player too.
Okay,
What
yeah.
that pound, you know, I mean, you see, you know, the scorpion, right? That's a very extreme, you know, forehand grip, right?
Like Aiden is doing all the time.
Yeah, for an example.
Our,
Yep,
our
yep,
local
yep.
Aiden Schenk
Yeah,
won
Aiden
the
Schenk,
Indian
yeah.
Open about a month ago.
Yeah. That's awesome.
He's held his paddle
Yeah.
at Western grip since he was 13.
Yeah, yeah. So he therefore obviously it's
He
it's
loves this
forehand,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you see other players that are more, you know, Eastern prone or backhand grip prone, that it's more backhand, right? So I
Wes.
think that there is, yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. I think I got him, and somehow he gets it back over here. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tell us before we finish
Yeah.
up what your occupation is. What your because I think
Yeah, my
that explains some of your creativity.
Yeah, so my occupation, I went to school for industrial design, so which is, yeah, that's the name of the education, and I focused on product design. So basically, designing products.
So pickleball world, are you hearing that? Product design.
Yeah. So it's not. It's half art, half science, right? It's not one-off. It's not sculpture. It's basically you design objects that are intended for mass production. So there is an aesthetic kind of, you know, component to that. There's obviously a strong creative problem-solving component. There's also a very strong technical side of that, as in, you know, material knowledge, material science, manufacturing techniques, engineering principles. All that's needed to be able to design a product that, you know, will last, be at the right price point with the right margin, and so on. So that's where I've done my whole career, and what brought me to Portland originally was Nike. So I lived in Italy, working for an American company there, and Nike recruited me, and I was design director for them.
And what is your main product now that you're...
Now, so in my career I've done everything from houses to consumer electronic, watches, headphones,
oh boy,
prison silverware, appliances, I mean you name it. I've designed a lot of different things. Now I have somewhat specialized in high-end interior hardware. So hardware as in metal fittings for interior space, residential and commercials. We do boutique hotels, and it's basically door pulls, door handles, sliding hardware systems, and so on. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Stefan, thank you so much for coming to the Playhouse.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
And I want to get you back playing when you're playing again.
Yeah, I mean, I am playing. I just took the year off, competing and slowly kind of spending more time on court. Yeah. We'll see. But yeah, happy to be back.
Pickleball Fountain of Youth with Hall of Famer Steve Paranto.